conférence de presse du
press
fils de Saul,
conference
de
for the film
Laszlo
Son of
Nemes.
Saul, directed by
À très
Laszlo
vite.
Nemes. See you soon.
Bonjour.
Thank you for being here. Some information. First of all, the press conference will be in both French and English, so you can pick up headsets to follow the translation. Please don't take flash photos, and when you ask a question, please stand up and introduce yourself before you actually put the question.
Oui, on va dans 2 minutes. Voilà, si vous avez... Attendez, je vais présenter, je vais... Merci. Mais la première question, ce sera là. Je vais vous présenter...
I would like now to introduce the various people at the podium. On your right, Gabor Rajna, producer. Next to him, Gabor Sipos, who's also a producer. And I'll continue. Urs Reschen, actor. Levente Molnar, actor. Geza Röhrig.
Laszlo Nemes, réalisateur.
Laszlo Nemes, the director. Clara Royer, co-script writer.
Matthias
Erdely, director of photography.
Ah bah oui, voilà, c'est ça. Mathieu Taponnier. Voilà.
Mathieu Taponnier,
Monteur,
editor.
comédien.
Mendy Khan, actor.
Tout le monde est là.
Everyone is here.
Alors il y a, comme vous le voyez, beaucoup de monde
As you can see,
à cette
there are a
table.
lot of people at the
Je
podium.
ne sais pas si tout le monde aura
I don't
l'occasion de
know
parler, mais
whether everyone
pour en
will
avoir
have
un
an
peu discuté avec
opportunity
Laszlo
to
Nemes
take
il n'y a
the
pas très
floor.
longtemps, il me disait...
I talked recently with Laszlo Nemes.
Voilà. Le directeur de la photographie qui a réglé donc les lumières de la salle. Donc, Laszlo, vous me disiez que c'était important pour vous d'avoir autour de vous cette équipe parce que le film, c'était aussi en dehors du sujet dont on en reparlera. C'était aussi important d'avoir une équipe et c'était un travail, un film d'équipe. Est-ce que vous pouvez en dire un peu plus, s'il vous plaît?
Bonjour. Le film était un travail d'équipe.
The film was indeed
Très
teamwork.
important, je le vois comme ça.
That's how I view it.
Comme c'était un peu un prototype,
As this
quelque part,
was
je le vois
a
comme ça,
prototype,
on l'a vu comme ça.
that's
Ce
how
film,
we consider the film.
tous ces gens-là
All these people
ont énormément apporté créativement à ce
contributed a
projet
great deal
et
to the
on a
creation
dû
of this
penser
project.
beaucoup
And
collectivement aussi.
we thought
film,
about the film
d'abord.
together
C'était
a
la première
lot.
chose. Et pendant,
That's my first point.
en le faisant, avec
And
toutes
when
les
we made the
difficultés,
film,
que ce soit les langues,
with
que ce
all
soit
its attendant difficulties, that is the languages,
l'organisation, le
the
découpage,
organization
cette
of the
manière de
film,
filmer,
the way the film was actually
ça a
shot.
posé plein de questions et on a dû répondre
All these points raised any number
ensemble.
of questions which we had to reflect on all together.
Oui, pardon.
Merci. Oui, parce que ce projet,
This project
ça fait 5 ans que vous le portez avec vous.
was something you worked on for
Vous pouvez peut-être assez
a good
rapidement
5 years.
raconter un
Could
petit peu
you
l'idée et ce cheminement
tell us about the idea, how it occurred to you, and
Il y a une dizaine
the
d'années que
overall
j'ai trouvé
procedure and process
un
which
recueil de
led you
textes
to Cannes today?
qui s'appelait Les Voix sous la
The
cendre,
text
qui est un ensemble de documents
is a
décrits
set of documents
par les Sonderkommando
written
d'Auschwitz.
by people in
Ces textes ont
Auschwitz.
été donc
And
écrits dans
these
le secret
texts
et
were
enterrés
written
avant
in
que le
secrecy
Sonderkommando se
and
rebelle
buried
en
before the
Et
people
c'est un-
actually
c'est un
rebelled
texte
in 44.
incroyable d'intensité
It's an
et de
incredible
documents.
text.
On
It's an
avait une
amazing
vision intérieure,
document which gives you an
souvent
insider's
très
view,
factuelle, mais aussi émotionnelle,
full of facts and
euh,
emotions, of
du,
course,
du travail
And
qu'ils
it
devaient
gives you a
faire.
good idea
C'était
of
un
the
travail
work the
pour eux,
Zonder
c'était
Commando had to
prisonniers.
do, because
Ils
this
étaient mieux
was the
gardés
work they
que
had
les
to do
autres,
as prisoners.
mais ils devaient
They
payer.
benefited from better conditions
par
than the
leur,
others, but they had to pay in a
Ils
sense.
étaient mieux, ils étaient nourris,
They
ils
were
avaient,
better fed.
ils avaient un. C'était une difficulté particulière parce qu'ils savaient qu'ils allaient être
But they knew
exterminés,
that they would be
liquidés après un certain
exterminated
temps.
after a
donc,
while. So it was very difficult work they had to
Ce qui était
undertake.
important, c'est que
What was important
pour moi, à ce moment-là,
for me
c'est de faire un film
was that I
au
wanted
cœur de
to
l'enfer
make
d'une manière différente. C'était le point de
film
départ et
about
c'était le point
this
de
hellish
départ.
experience in a different way.
Et là, on va pouvoir un petit peu donner la parole aux différentes
We'll be giving
personnes.
the floor
C'est un film
to
qui
the members of
effectivement
the
a des
cast
partis
as
pris
well.
très forts
But in
à
the
tout point de vue,
film, you take
dans
quite
la
clear-cut
narration, dans la mise en
stances
scène,
in terms of
dans
the
la
storyline,
lumière, dans le
the
jeu
lighting,
jeu
the
avec les
sets,
comédiens.
the
Ces partis
acting.
pris, ce sont des moments que vous avez choisis dès le départ et puis
You chose these
discuter avec
personal viewpoints at
chacun
the
des membres, que ce
outset,
soit
and then you
l'équipe
discuss
artistique et
matters
l'équipe
with
technique, très
all
en
the
amont
members
du
of
film.
the
Oui, le
technical
scénario
team
était
and
inséparable
the cast.
de l'approche de réalisation.
Yes, indeed,
Donc on savait qu'on
the
n'allait pas faire un
script
film, disons,
was part
classique
and parcel
de
of
représentation.
the overall
On savait
unfolding
qu'on allait
of the
se
film.
restreindre
We knew we were going
un
to
jour, un jour et demi
limit ourselves
d'histoire
to
sur
1.5
un homme. On se
days.
concentre sur un homme.
We focus on just one person.
Ça posait un ensemble de problèmes.
And this gave rise to any number of issues which we had to resolve together.
Et heureusement que j'avais des gens
Unfortunately,
pour m'aider
I had wonderful people to help me in this
ces
task.
obstacles.
And to overcome
Clara,
these
comment est-ce que vous
obstacles.
avez travaillé
Clara,
tous les deux
how
spécifiquement
did
sur
you
sur
work
l'écriture
more
du
specifically
scénario,
on
et
the
la
writing
dramatisation et
of
l'avancée
the
du récit?
script,
Comment ça s'est passé
the screenplay and the
Ça a commencé d'abord comme
story?
un atelier d'écriture à
Well,
deux.
it was like
Donc on
a writing
on s'échangeait des idées,
workshop
on
with
prenait
just
des
the two of
notes.
us. We took notes, we
Une trame a
exchanged
commencé à se
ideas, and
développer. Et c'est vrai
the
que pour
outline of the
l'écriture du
story started
scénario,
to develop. When it came to
on
writing
était
the
aussi,
actual script,
je dirais, encadré par le premier cours que Laszlo avait fait, With a Little Patience, qui donnait déjà
used,
une certaine idée de ce qu'il voulait faire.
one of the
Donc, ça
documents
aidait
already
beaucoup
written by Laszlo,
à
which
créer cette
provided a
histoire
lot of
de-
ideas, and that
Voilà, dès
gave
le
us
départ, il était clair qu'on était dans l'espace
the
d'une
general
personne.
storyline.
Et c'est vrai
It was clear that we were going to be talking only about one person.
Le travail de Laszlo antérieur.
I'm familiar with Laszlo's previous work, and that helped me a lot to write
Après,
this
on a eu de la
story.
chance.
And then we were
on a
very
été soutenus
fortunate.
par,
We
par
received
la
support
Ciné-Fondation. Laszlo a
from
pu
the
venir 6 mois
Cine
à Paris. On a
Fondation.
continué de
Laszlo
travailler sur le
came to
scénario à ce
Paris for
moment-là.
6 months. We continued to work on the script.
Mathias, vous êtes directeur de la photographie.
Matthias, you're director of
Justement,
photography.
quels sont les partis pris, les discussions, les enjeux du film et peut-être
How
les
did you
problèmes,
discuss the film,
les questions
overcome
que vous
the
êtes posées,
problems? What
les réponses
issues
que vous
did
avez
you
apportées,
ask
avec
yourself, and how did you
Laszlo?
find the solutions together with Laszlo?
It was a very long process, and I think our main concern was how to show things that are not possible to show, and this was the fundamental question we were facing from the very beginning. And I think the genius idea of Laszlo's was that we just won't show things that cannot be shown. So basically, our approach was to exclude everything that is not fundamental to our story, not to represent anything that is basically just gives you a sense of where we are and what is going on, because I think us, the filmmakers, we were assuming that the audience would understand immediately after like the second minute of the film that where the story takes place and where we are. So we said, okay, we don't need to represent, we don't need to show anything that is about the era, that is about the historical circumstances. We're just going to focus on our story. The story that is about this one man and his mission, and exclude everything that is not strictly part of this story.
Geza, avec Laszlo, comment vous avez abordé le jeu, le personnage,
How
la
did
façon
you
de
work on your
bouger,
character with
d'avoir la caméra
Laszlo,
dans le dos tout le
the
temps,
acting,
l'expression que vous avez, comment
the
ça s'est fait? Vous
expressions?
n'êtes pas comédien, vous êtes écrivain.
You're not
poète.
an actor,
Comment-
you're actually a
comment avez-vous
writer
travaillé
by
avec,
profession. And how did you work together with Laszlo?
Well, the preparation took place partly in Budapest and partly in New York. And so I've worked with Laszlo very intensely, long days and weeks actually in Budapest. But then after, since I've been living in New York for 15 years, I had to go on my own in solo in New York. And I was worried about this twofold type of preparations, but actually the two places and the two ways of preparation compensated each other quite well. The part of the basic challenge of my role was that generally speaking, an actor is able to exhibit a spectrum of emotions. And because of the extraordinary conditions under which Saul is operating for long, for years in Auschwitz, he is already in a very reduced state of mind. So my skill set, so to speak, and the expectation or the challenge of the character was to dance in a very, very small area, in a very minimalist way, so that because all the conversations and the rehearsals and my own readings on this the life, the everyday life of a Sonderkommando was convincing me that the only way to remain sane and live this type of life was to cease to be a human being, to be detached from your emotions, to be as indifferent as possible. So, usually an actor is able to shine and to create moments, but it was a different kind of possibility, and I hope, I did my best to bring his character alive within these very strong limitations.
Question un peu similaire au
I have a
producteur,
similar
Gabor,
question for
Gabor et
the
Gabor, d'ailleurs,
producer,
vous avez le même
Gabor.
prénom. Justement sur les partis pris et sur la
The
production d'un
choices
film
and the
pareil,
production
qui n'a pas
of such a
été
film,
facile, me disait Laszlo.
which wasn't easy,
vous,
as
de votre
Laszlo
côté,
said.
le travail s'est
How
fait?
did you go about your work?
Well, we tried different countries to co-produce with, because it was essential for us, also the languages and also the countries behind this film. But unfortunately, it was not possible. So after a couple of refusals, we went back to the Hungarian Film Fund and we asked for the additional money. So apart from the Hungarian National Film Fund, we were also financed by the Claims Conference, which is a New York-based organization. And we are very proud that in the end we could do the film on a, let's say, on a low budget scale. And we hope that for the second film it will be easier.
Justement, les refus étaient motivés par le sujet du film, par l'inexpérience.
Did people refuse because of the topic of the film, because Laszlo didn't have that much experience? Were there spurious reasons?
C'était qui d'ailleurs? C'était
And
la France?
who are we talking about? France? Which are the countries that you approached?
The refusals were absolutely, I think, for the topic, not for Laszlo. And everybody said that the script was extraordinary, and that they think that the film will be extraordinary as well, but it's a risky film. And I think understand a little bit, because it's a first film, and we will not accept it for the second film. It was France. It was Israel. Yeah, these are the two countries.
Gabor, vous voulez ajouter quelque chose?
Do you want to add anything, Gabor?
Question dans la salle, monsieur qui avait pris le
Question from the room.
micro dès le début.
Bonjour, Röhrig, télévision
Belgian
belge.
TV.
Bravo pour
Congratulations
ce film qui est d'une maîtrise
on this film,
très impressionnante.
which shows impressive
C'est une
mastery.
question pour Laszlo Nemes.
I have a question for Laszlo
à la
Nemes,
fois sur les propos de son
who might
acteur et
like
de
to
son directeur
react
photo.
to what the
Ce film
and
pose
then
évidemment
the
des
director
questions
of photo
éthiques
and
que
the
vous avez
actors might like to
déjà
answer.
esquissées
The
sur
film gives rise to
comment
many
filmer
ethical issues.
l'infilmable.
How can one
Il y
film
a ce
what is
Ce
unfilmable?
prisme du personnage principal.
And
Je me
then
suis
you have
demandé
the
si
main
ce personnage
character
principal,
and his view of
qui est
things.
quelque part à mi-chemin
The main
entre
character
les
is partway
victimes et les
between
bourreaux, même s'il va devenir
victim
une victime lui-même, mais
and
en tout cas, dans le
hangman,
moment
so to
où on le
speak,
capte,
or
il est à
killer.
mi-chemin entre les victimes et les bourreaux. Est-ce
He
que
is
ce personnage principal, en termes de
betwixt
cinéma,
and between.
vous est apparu comme un vecteur possible pour
How
que
did you view
pour
this
être un miroir
character
pour le
as
spectateur
a
et
sort
pour
of mirror
plonger
for the
quelque part
spectator?
le spectateur dans une
Was the idea
dans une
to
identification
plunge
maximale
the
vers
spectator
ce
into a
que pouvait
maximum
être
form of identification
Auschwitz en 1944.
with
Est-ce que
Auschwitz in
c'est comme
August
ça que vous l'avez abordé?
44?
J'aimerais que vous
Is that how you approach the main character? Could you develop your ideas as a filmmaker in that respect? It's a twofold question, in fact.
Le statut des Sonderkommando.
You were talking about the status of the Sonderkommando, in fact.
Notre angle a été motivé par le fait que
Our approach was
on
rooted
a
in
essayé
the
de
fact
ramener
that
quelque chose que trop souvent semble historique,
we wanted
relégué dans des
to
livres.
talk about something that is only too often
ramener ça
historical, the stuff of
présent
books.
et
We
à la-
wanted to make this very present, very alive.
à la dimension d'un seul être humain.
And we wanted to boil everything down to the dimension of a single human being.
On ne voulait pas avoir un regard
We didn't want
reculé,
to stand back from the situation,
distance
to establish a sort of an historic
distance,
distance.
d'interprétation quelque part.
We didn't want there to be a
voulait
distance based
être
on
avec cet
the
homme
fact that
pendant cette journée,
we were just portraying
journée
things
et
on the
demie,
basis of a given interpretation.
endroit.
We just follow this person for a day and a half in this specific place.
On ne voulait pas faire un film beau.
We
On
didn't
voulait pas
want
faire
to
un
make a
film iconographique.
beautiful film full of icons.
I think, une chose importante, c'est qu'on voulait,
There's another important
on voulait
thing.
pas que ce soit émotionnel. de
We
manière
didn't want things
classique.
to be
Pas plaquer nos
emotional in the
émotions.
conventional sense of the word.
Ces gens travaillent dans le crématoire.
These people work in the
Après 4
crematorium,
mois,
and
ils sont
after
vidés de
several
toute
months, they are, so
émotion
to speak,
habituelle. Ils sont dans
emptied
l'autre, mais en
of
tout cas,
any
ils sont
normal emotion.
érodés. Et,
Normal emotions have been eroded away.
Geza, oui.
Yeah,
oui.
definitely. Since I couldn't be passionate in the movie, I'm going to be a bit passionate now. There has to be a clarification, sir. The Sonderkommando is not part killer and part victim. The Sonderkommando is a 100% victim, sir. The Sonderkommando has not spilled blood. The Sonderkommando wasn't involved in any sort of killing. In every cases, the Sonderkommando was inducted upon arrival under the threat of death. They had no choice over the matter. They had no control over their destiny. They were as victimized than any other inmates in Auschwitz. I'm sorry for being passionate, but to call the Sonderkommandos part killer is something that is not unusual and actually Primo Levi. Nobody less than Primo Levi said that, they lie, they were really collaborators, they tried to rehabilitate yourself. And if you or anybody does read enough and look at what the researchers found, and there is about not more than 20 Sonderkommandos alive right now, out of the 100 that emerged alive after the liberalization of the camps. And I can't speak, obviously, in their names. I don't know any of them. But these 20 Sonderkommandos that are still alive, all of them mostly gave interviews and testimonies over the years. After decades of silence, they did not even reveal to their immediate family members what they're doing, what function they had in the camp, because they were regarded so negatively by the others. And I understand that feeling, but in 2015, no one should call the Sonderkommando part killer. That's just not right. Okay, I'm just wanted to clarify some. Thank you.
No, Madame?
Hello, I'm Catherine Jaude from The Guardian, and I wanted to ask, in relation to into Godard's thoughts about the way that cinema has handled the Holocaust, and that he thought it had let it down by not documenting it at the time. Is this film in any way an attempt to do that, and to do what Saul is doing for his son, to give them a proper burial?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the beginning of the question.
Oh, sorry. So Godard says, I think it's Godard, says that...
Godard?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that cinema failed the Holocaust because it didn't document it. And I wondered if you felt that was true.
I don't know how to answer this question. I'm sorry. Can you answer this question?
Yeah. I think it's documented because it's this Hitchcock thing is already on the market now. Yeah. But it's more politic. What? Please? Yes, I came from. I was born in the GDR, in the Eastern Germany. Yes, and we had some footages from the Russian side, from the Soviets, and this wasn't only propaganda from the red, not carpet, and. I think there's also some artificial movies in the eastern side, but it's also politics. So don't see this and don't look for.
So it's not, I mean, I have a hard time, answering this question, a good question, but I don't know whether I can, comment on that, in a sense. We tried for sure to be very restrain ourselves to a set of rules, because we knew that we couldn't, show and convey things the way they are usually conveyed. And cinema, it is for sure, it seems more and more keen on not restraining itself and giving more and more. And we thought that less was more, and we thought that it was the right way not to rely too much on imagery, but rather to rely on the imagination of the viewer to reconstruct something that we cannot reconstruct visually and cannot be reconstructed because it would be too finite, and we wanted something. We had this idea, this willingness to create more in the mind that would be related to the experience of the extermination camp.
Monsieur, pouvez-vous le... Thank you. Oh, sorry.
You want me to stand up? Eugene Hernandez from Film Comment in New York. First of all, congratulations on an exceptional film. Two questions really connected about the filmmaking style or process. Critics have referenced your relationship to and your work with Bellatar. So I wonder if you could, and obviously you are a filmmaker and this is a film that stands on its own, but I wonder if you could reflect or connect or see any connection between your work with Bellatar and how you approach this film, first of all, and then secondarily your decision to shoot on and apparently project on film. If you could speak to those 2 points. Thanks.
Thank you. The Bellatar was for me my school. I mean, that was the way for me to learn the trade, or at least learn things from the trade. And there's no other relationship. I mean, not consciously, maybe in different manners. He's nervous when I talk about him, so I haven't talked to him in 8 years, but I know he's nervous about it. So, but he's glad at the same time, and nervous, and glad. So the thing is, we wanted to shoot film because I might be of a dying kind, but I only want to shoot film because this is, for me, cinema. This is the soul of cinema. Because the image, the physical image projected for me is cinema. Everything else is a screen, and it's a different thing. And I think we're on the same page with this guy on it. We're very passionate about it. It's not okay with us that, industrial trends make film disappear. I think the bottom line is the viewer gets less at the end, and it's a regressive state, and we want to fight against it, and we want to make sure the new generations of filmmakers understand what it takes and what it means to shoot on film, because also it gives a discipline and it gives directing an extreme importance. You have to take your decisions beforehand. You cannot push everything back to the editing room, and you're not there to assemble as a director. And I hope that the screen. It's the only film that will be screened, if I understand correctly, on competition on film. I regret that, seriously. Do you want to add something about it?
I don't think so. I mean, it's for me. It's
now is the time.
For me, it's like very, very, very simple. You project an image digitally, you put it on the screen, and then you turn it off, and then you turn on your 35mm projector and project the same footage on film. And if you don't know anything about the technology, or you don't know anything about any of this, you as a member of the audience will have a completely different experience. And in my mind, it's a much deeper and much more tangible experience. And I think to give that up is insane. So I don't know how, and I don't know why filmmakers, give up on that option. I just don't understand that.
Oh yeah. Cool. Now you're talking.
Y a-t-il une autre question?
C'est encore moi. Je suis désolé,
again.
mais je suis vraiment passionné par votre film.
I'm keenly interested in your film. We talked a lot about the choice of images. We should talk about the choice of the sound now. Working on the sound.
Absolument étourdissant. Voilà.
The work you did on the sound is absolutely flabbergasting. It's wonderful.
C'est-à-dire que le cinéma, c'est effectivement cette image.
Indeed, the cinema is made of images and sound, and both are full of meaning in your film. Thank you.
On a mis du temps. Devrais-je dire quelque chose sur le son?
Should I say something about sound? Yes. How did the soundtrack fit in with the images? We had a wonderful sound engineer for the film. We've worked together on 3 shorts together already. Laszlo Melis is a wonderful partner in that respect.
Quand l'image est tellement restreinte, comment travailler
and Thomas Sagny too. with such limited images, how should one work on the sound? What exactly did we want? It was difficult to ascertain. For example, with the cries from the crematorium, we had to make certain choices. If we wanted to decide whether we wanted a really realistic sound, if that had been the choice, we would have heard nothing but people crying because they were dying. So we had to make certain choices. We wanted things to remain very rough-hewn, and a rough sound is what we wanted. We didn't want it to be too sophisticated. It works as a complement to the images, in fact.
Des choses extrêmement, par exemple des ordres ou des
orders, for example, commands,
ou des ordres qui sont continuels, ou d'autres choses du crématoire,
keep coming in.
Entrer d'une manière extrêmement factuelle
There are facts which are portrayed.
Il s'agissait d'en donner plus, d'évoquer plus par le son, ça nous a beaucoup aidé.
To be very evocative
mais de ne pas en faire trop, de se limiter aussi.
Sounds, but not to overdo things.
Voilà, on voulait que ça reste assez, ça reste pauvre, ça reste simple.
These sounds to remain very simple, not too rich.
Une autre.
Any other questions?
Juste pour revenir sur le tournage.
I wanted to talk about the shooting of the film.
Ça s'est passé
How did things
les trois comédiens?
work out among the three actors?
Pardon, oui, excusez-moi, oui, les trois.
Yes, the three of you.
Comment le fait de jouer ces personnages pendant le tournage,
during the shooting of the film, how did it work out?
Les émotions, les sentiments ont été
What about emotions,
compliqués
feelings?
à maîtriser.
Were they complicated and difficult to control?
Okay, if nobody's talking, I will answer this one.
Ah oui, c'est tout, d'accord.
Okay, I'm sorry, I understood it's for three of us.
No.
Yes, no. Okay, sorry. Let me take it in split it into the first one, which is about the feelings, and the second one about how it worked out between us. About the feelings, so what I can tell you is I have a very strong moment, and it was somewhere right at the beginning of the shooting. We started shooting, and there is a scene down in a chamber, gas chamber, and we were actually just rehearsing the scene. Dressed up and the great setting, well, it's using these words related to this environment, it's just ugly. But, and we were rehearsing, okay? So, sitting down there, clearing the floor, that was the action, rehearsing, having all the people around, and I had a hard time. Because I took a huge hit at that moment, and I'm just too small to even to imagine, okay? Those feelings, what these guys were forced to experience. And I got scared. Because, because I felt that it's overwhelming, I felt it's wrong. Direction for an actor to start basically after the whole pre-production preparation and everything to start to work with the character in this one, and it weakened me, if I'm using the right word. So I had to somehow create a wall to be able to stay there, to be able to do whatever I had to do, because it was not really helping me. I mean, I felt sorry. I felt all the shades of that madness, or some of them, you know. And I had to stop it. I had to block it, and then I had to rely on Laszlo. I had to rely on my fellow actors and trying to work as a team. This was my answer for the first part of it. And
I'm sorry, just to say that the instruction was, throughout the film that it had to be, they couldn't put their own emotions of, post-war emotions and this
because it's just not that.
They couldn't do that. We had, I had to fight with all of them to try to bring it to level to the worker. He's working and he is in the middle. He's switched off, and because it's the setting that makes it in this way. Yeah.
And the second part of your question is about how did it work out? Well, of course, either way you like it or not, it's a movie, okay? Hopefully it's going to start a discussion, okay? Or it's going to be part of a longer discussion needed on this topic. I don't want to get too smart because I'm not, okay? But there is a filmmaking process about how it worked out between us. I want to tell you, it was just, I feel lucky, of course, and not because I'm here. I feel lucky. I felt even then lucky because it was just really, I met a lot of people from all over, okay? And the wonder was that, it's not a big secret. It's good to work. It's good to be together.
I'm sorry. Can I say something? There's one aspect which is interesting, is that there are 8 languages in this film, and we have people from, I don't know, 6 or 7 countries all over Europe and even Israel, and we had this, Yiddish language throughout the film, which is sort of common language of the camp, and in this way, Mandy, who was our, Yiddish advisor throughout the film. We had to recreate something that we couldn't fully recreate because this is a lost world. People coming from all over Europe, being deported, a lot of them speaking Yiddish, but different Yiddish, some of them not even speaking right Yiddish, and the main character not even mastering it. But it was an incredible atmosphere to have these people from all over the place, with different languages and this Yiddish aspect, we just added more difficulties to the whole thing. So,
and it's not just, I'm sorry, it's not just about languages. It's mostly during the film that it's the cultural background which makes this quite beautiful. For me, for myself, it was nice to see how this topic, how this work can function in different countries, basically. And me personally, I'm still curious about and searching and interested about. I'm from Romania, I'm from Transylvania, and I'm start to miss people. I have that question: where are the Jews from Transylvania? I have the question: where are the Germans from Transylvania? And soon enough, I will have to have the question: where are the Hungarians from Transylvania? So. It's like missing.
Geza, Urs, vous avez, par rapport aux propos qui viennent d'être énoncés sur cette expérience du tournage, comment est-ce que vous le
experience during the shooting of the film? How did you experience things when the film was being shot?
By the time the film started to shoot, I really wanted to shoot it. This feeling of wanting to do it accumulated me in the previous weeks and months. So I was very happy when it started. And you asked, obviously, shooting a film is an experience on different levels. So without obviously elaborating it in a press conference, but I just wanted to throw it out there that as a person who believes in God, I had a dimension of the experience which was, very personal, very struggling, hard, and I was very grateful for it. I was very grateful for it at the same time. And I, just like Levente said, I have to join him saying that The crew was fantastic. I've done some film work in my early 20s, and I know that it's a temporary togetherness, and it rarely forms a community when people get together to shoot a movie. You do it in 30, 40 days, the actors at least. And sometimes it can go wrong, and sometimes all kind of, feelings and behind the back things. And this was a movie from the beginning to the end, when I felt that even when there was some sort of conflict, it was an honest conflict, it was a creative conflict. And it was very helping for me to know, both from Laszlo, Mátyás, Clara, Levente, and Urs, and basically Mandy, who was a great help for me in Yiddish, that we were just really together, focused, and tried to help each other, and all eyes were on the movie. And that was a great experience.
Hi, Mandy Kahana. I had the honor or privilege to work with Laszlo on this movie on the part of the Yiddish script, which is quite substantial. Now, on many levels, I want to expand just on it. Like, on the one hand, this is a testimony for the Yiddish language, which was spoken for hundreds of years, and now after the Holocaust, it has nearly disappeared. Like, millions of speakers were just burned, and we remained. There was still 1 million Yiddish speakers, but much is missing. And this movie gave us. The work was here both to reconstruct sonorities of Yiddish which are lost now from our memory, like Moldavian Yiddish, Ukrainian sounds, like you could know there was a difference between different areas in Warsaw had their different Yiddish, and you could immediately know from where a person comes. So in this movie, in very terse little sentences of people that speak, we tried to put a little bit of those sonorities, the patinas of memories of speech. Also, you suddenly realize in this Bavel, in this destruction, between these ashes, the language is maybe the only home that a person still has. So this was one touch to work upon, and we did. The other one was the Yiddish, the language changed during the Holocaust drastically. The world changes, and your language needs to describe it changes drastically to adapt to this unreal reality or reality. And so a new language is formed in the ghettos and the camps. And this we also tried to integrate in the movie by much research. Like there were etymologists and linguists in the camps and in the movie and in the ghettos trying to grasp this. So from testimonies, also this we had to do in the movie. And I think that for the actors was because all those actors who are great actors in Polish and in German and in Romanian and in Hungarian, suddenly they had to work in a language that they didn't know, and it should sound as if they were born with it and as if they're going to die with it. So this was a very touching and a special work. Also, one thing that I want to say, this movie was shot in sequence. It was amazing. We started with the group of Jews coming, waiting to be ushered in to take off their clothes and go into the showers, and then their bodies taken out. And I think that the crew, all of us, little by little, we went deeper and deeper into this reality, and you could feel it both, I think, both in the work and both on the relationships that happened between us. So these are all aspects that were very, very special.
Merci. Laszlo, vous voulez ajouter un
Laszlo,
dernier
did you
mot?
want to add anything?
Non, c'était une belle fin pour.
No, that was a wonderful way
Merci
to end.
beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Bonne journée à tous.
And enjoy the rest of your day.